If you've ever found yourself wondering, why do I feel so disconnected in my relationship, even though I'm trying so hard? Could be that perfectionism is sabotaging your relationship. In this last video in this series on perfectionism, I want to talk about how perfectionism, that sneaky voice that is always in your head saying, be better, do better, be flawless. I want to talk about how perfectionism can quietly sabotage your relationship and about how you can prevent it from doing so. My name is JeffKinkade. If this is your first time here, nice to meet you. This channel is about understanding people, including yourself, and transforming relationships. Because when you understand people, when you really understand them, you don't just interact, you connect. And of course, that's why you're watching this video. You want connection. You want love that feels safe, real, deep. Maybe you've read the books, you've tried the date nights, you've worked on yourself, and yet something in your relationship still feels off. Well, as a recovering perfectionist, I speak from experience here. Most of us were never taught how perfectionism sneaks into our relationships and quietly builds walls. Now, let me just paint the picture. You love your partner, but you can't help noticing the little things. Something about how they speak, about how they dress, how they work, whatever it is. You offer advice, feedback, helpful suggestions. But what happens? They pull away. They get defensive. They shut down. And here's why. No matter how well-intentioned you may think you are to your partner, it really doesn't feel like help. It feels like criticism. It feels like they can never measure up. And over time, that erodes trust and safety and respect. And suddenly, you feel rejected, maybe even confused. You wonder, well, why do they feel that? I'm always telling them that I'm just trying to help them, to offer advice. Well, here's why they don't respond well. Because they see how you beat yourself up, how angry and self-condemning that you are about your own lack of perfection. And so they wonder, naturally, how must he or she feel about me when they criticize me? See, perfectionism convinces us that love means helping another person change for the better, we think. And so we start trying to control them. But the truth is that control suffocates connection. I know this is hard to accept, but you can't change people. And not everyone wants to live under the same set of standards that you live with. In fact, maybe that's why God has brought this person into your life, to help you live with more grace. Okay, here's another way perfectionism sabotages relationships. It keeps us stuck in our own heads. Perfectionists live on this emotional roller coaster of dread and relief. Dreading the next mistake, feeling temporary relief when things go well. But peace, well, that's not an experience that most perfectionists have ever experienced, at least not for very long. That's always just out of reach. In relationships, the way this looks is obsessing over every conversation, replaying arguments in your head, overthinking your partner's tone, their words, their silences. It's exhausting for you and it's exhausting for them. And it makes emotional intimacy feel impossible because relationships aren't meant to be analyzed all of the time. Relationships thrive when people are giving to one another and caring for one another's needs. But perfectionism tends to, and again, I'm speaking from my own experience here, perfectionism tends to keep us living in our own head rather than paying attention to our partner and their needs. Okay, here's another problem. If you're a perfectionist, you tend to chase the fantasy and miss the reality. And here's what I mean. Let's be honest, we've all bought into the myth of the perfect relationship. The one where there's no conflict and the honeymoon phase never ends, and you finish each other's sentences and every Instagram post looks like pure bliss. But real relationships? I've been happily married for over 33 years, and I've counseled more couples than I can remember, and I can just tell you that real love isn't a highlight reel. It's two flawed people learning to love each other with all of their imperfections. The moment that you demand perfection from yourself or your partner or the relationship, you stop experiencing the beauty of things like grace and forgiveness and acceptance. And then, of course, there's the problem of how a perfectionist sees conflict. Conflict is not proof that your relationship is broken. It's just proof that you're two different people. But perfectionists tend to see conflict as evidence that they've failed, or worse, maybe that they've even chosen the wrong person. So they avoid conflict, or they get defensive, or they try to win every argument instead of just understanding their partner. Slowly, the relationship becomes a quiet standoff instead of a place of growth. So we'll end with this one. Here's the hardest part, I think. Perfectionism tells you to be strong. It tells you to be in control. It tells you to be polished. But love real love can't breathe in that space. When you can't share your fears, when you can't admit your flaws, when you can't let your partner really see you, you're not building intimacy, you're building a performance. And performances don't create real connection. They create lonely people who are wearing masks to hide themselves behind. Okay, so now what did I miss? What's another way that you've noticed that perfectionism affects relationships? I'd love to know your input in the comment section below. So what do you do if you see yourself in this? If perfectionism has tangled itself in some way into your relationship? Well, you don't fix it by trying harder to be perfect at love. First, when you feel the impulse to correct your partner, get curious with yourself, not critical of them. Is this about them, or is this really more about me and my expectations? Second, look at your partner's flaws as God's grace to you to free you from your perfectionism. Third, reframe conflict not as failure, but as growth. Disagreements are not signs that your relationship is doomed. They're invitations to understand each other better and to grow in your relationship. And finally, drop the mask. Share your fears, share your flaws, share your humanity. That's where true connection lives. If you take anything from this video, let it be this. Your relationship does not need you to be perfect. It needs you to be present, to be human, to be brave enough to connect, flaws and all. That's how you build a relationship that isn't just pretty on the outside, but solid, safe, and lasting beneath the surface. Hey, if this video resonated with you, I made 2 other videos on the subject of perfectionism that cover how perfectionism takes hold in a person's life and the lies that perfectionism tells you. I think those videos will give you some insight into yourself and how you can learn to live with more grace and understanding for yourself. How have you fought off the effect of perfectionism in your relationships? Let us know in the comment section below. If you like this video, hit the like button, share it with someone by all means, and please, to understand people and to transform relationships, hit subscribe. See you in the next video. Grace and peace to you.